meeting. Please introduce yourself in the chat with your screen name and the organization you are with. Put questions for the panelists in the Q&A. If time is available, we will answer on-topic questions toward the end of the webinar. Today, our guests are the ORSC endorsed candidates running for State House. First, we have Keith Gray Sr., the former Lancaster County Party Chair running for the second time in House District 45 to unseat the Republican incumbent and majority party whip. Katie Crosby is a first-time candidate and the current Lancaster Democratic Party Chair running for an open seat in District 44 created by the latest redistricting. Katie lives in the Indian Land area of Lancaster County. Daniel Duncan is running for House District 14 in Lawrence County. He is currently a truck driver and is a former Waffle House manager who has probably served breakfast to many of his potential voters. Ashlyn Preaux is from the Myrtle Beach area and she's running for District 61. She's a wife and a mother of three running for a newly created district. She is a community organizer with lots of experience. And finally, we have Judith Polson, District 3, to represent Anderson County. She's a retired school teacher in the South Carolina public schools for 29 years. I will be posting links to all candidate websites during the meeting. So now let's go to Lucero Mesa to kick off our October forum.
Thank you, Alan. Good evening. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedule. Our meetings are a continuation of our commitment to provide a platform for discussion and to inform South Carolina voters about issues and how political decisions affect our daily lives. I am very excited about this forum. We have 5 amazing Democratic candidates that are running for South Carolina House seats. Can you imagine having them representing us at the State House? Keith Gray Sr., former Lancaster County Party Chair, running for the second time in House District 45 to unseat the Republican incumbent and majority party whip. Katie Crosby is a first-time candidate and the current Lancaster Democratic Party Chair, running for an open seat in District 44 created by the latest redistricting. And Katie lives in the Indian Land area of Lancaster County. Daniel Duncan is also a first-time candidate and he's running for House District 14 in Lawrence County because he doesn't want the seat to go unchallenged. Ashlyn Preaux from the Myrtle Beach area, a wife and a mom of 3, is a community organizer who is running for District 61, which is a new district without an incumbent per a new map. And Judith Polson, a retired teacher running for District 3 to represent Anderson County. This is her second run for office. She ran for the South Carolina Senate against Richard Cash in 2020. Judith has been active in the Anderson County Democratic Party for 20 years. Thank you all for being here. And before we start the conversation with our guests, we are going to hear from our amazing organizer, Hal Ginsberg with our Revolution National. Welcome, Hal.
All right, thank you so much, Lucero. It's great to be in South Carolina. I'll tell you, it's very exciting doing this kind of work because I was in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, capital of the Keystone State earlier today. Now I'm in Columbia, so it's pretty exciting to be able to travel around the country virtually and in reality as well. I actually was physically in Harrisburg, which is a nice city if you've never been there. So just real quick before we get to this awesome panel, and I love that we're spotlighting 5 great Palmetto State progressives today. Right, I mean, imagine if we can just start moving the government to the left towards a caring, considerate polity that actually takes care of our citizens. Things would become so much better. We are working to elect John Fetterman, I mentioned, I was in PA today, and he is, of course, running to be the senator there in the open seat. It would be great to have John Fetterman. If you want to help us out, rrev.us/phonebank, ourrev.us/phonebank, and we're also calling for other great progressives, including Mandela Barnes in Wisconsin and Megan Green, who's running for St. Louis City Board of Aldermen president, and she is a clean green candidate, just who we need. And finally, you'll see the logo now and again, but we do ask you if you can become an Our Revolution movement builder, just $5 a month, ourrev.us/scmem. That SC means South Carolina gets credit for your generous contribution. And with that, let's go to the amazing co-chair of the Our Revolution South Carolina chapter. Right back to you, Lucero Mesa.
Thank you, Hal. Barbara, one of our endorsement committee members, will start the conversation. Take it away, Barbara.
Okay, thank you, Lucero. And I want to thank all the candidates who are running for office in South Carolina as progressive candidates. Let's give our audience a chance to get to know each of you. Each candidate, please take a couple of minutes to share with us why you are running and explain the most crucial issue that you will fight for. So you each have 2 minutes, and let's start with Ashlyn.
Hi, thank you for having me and for putting this together. I really did not want to run, and you can ask my husband. I didn't plan on it. I filed with about 15 minutes left to the filing deadline because I couldn't find anyone else to run. I originally worked a couple months trying to get somebody to run for this seat, run for county council, run for school board, and I couldn't find anyone who was willing to do it. When I realized that this was a newly drawn district and that there was no one in the seat and it was just going to go unchallenged, being that we have the opportunity to put a progressive person in the state house with no incumbent to take out, I had to make the decision to run. So after a year of assault on public education and on our reproductive health care, that ended up being my driving factor, as well as my children, that I would like to see a better future in the state for.
Thank you, Ashlyn. Next, we'll hear from Daniel. Daniel?
Sorry, I had to unmute. I appreciate everybody viewing tonight. I appreciate Our Revolution for giving me the opportunity to speak to everyone. And much like Lucero said earlier, I got tired of seeing this district go unchallenged. I'm only the third Democrat to run for this seat in this millennium. And after 16 years of never having anyone to vote for, I got so tired of going to the ballot box and feeling like I was the only Democrat in Lawrence County. And I've since learned that there are so many of us out there that just needed somebody to get behind. People get so excited to hear me talk about how I've always worked for a living and I'm not some lawyer or business owner like what we typically see going to Columbia. So it's given me a brand new life to inspire people, and I'm really enjoying the campaign process.
It's wonderful. Thank you so much. And now we'll hear from Judith.
I also thank all the folks who are listening in and for Our Revolution for supporting us and in this way. Running in Anderson County, and it's a very red area, but what isn't in South Carolina, so I also felt like somebody needed to step up and run against my opponent, who's not been challenged for at least 6 years. My opponent has voted against women's rights. She's voted against taking down the Confederate flag. She's voted against gender equality. She is a very nice person, to talk to. She's but she needs to be challenged. She needs some competition. So that's why I'm running. And as Daniel has expressed, I feel the same way. I'm a teacher. I don't usually think about being in politics, but it's such an important part of our democracy. You have to participate in the government or you will lose your democracy. And, you know, we came close this year, but I don't think America's ready to give up on our participatory government yet. So that's why I'm throwing my hat in, as they say.
Thank you, Judith. And now we'll hear from Katie.
Thank you, Barbara. I'm really honored to be here tonight with our revolution and all these amazing candidates. Like Hal said, I'm so excited for what we can do for South Carolina. I'm Katie Crosby, and I'm running for the South Carolina House in District 44 because I want to fund our schools, support our teachers, and ensure our kids get a quality education. I know that together we can create a safe, healthy, thriving community. Public education as a former teacher is really, really important to me. But the most crucial issue on the ballot this year is democracy, like so many others have said. I'm planning to fight to preserve our voting rights and expand opportunities to vote. All South Carolinians' voices deserve to be heard.
Okay, thank you, Katie. And now we'll hear from Keith.
Good evening. My name is Keith Gray Sr., and I'm running to represent the central and south part of Western Lancaster County. I'm running to offer the citizens of House District 45 a real choice. Do they want a state representative who will fight for everyone in the area, regardless of wealth, race, age, or gender? Or do they want a continuation of the last 25 years of neglected public education, shrinking healthcare access, crumbling infrastructure, lack of affordable housing, and environmental injustice? I want to expand voting rights, women's autonomy, promote a living wage, protect workers' rights, and expand healthcare access and affordability. I can relate to Ashlyn's remarks about 2 years ago, I was in that position as party chair, trying to fill this slot. And nobody stepped up. And so Alan and I showed up about a half an hour before the close of filing and threw my hat in the ring. And we learned a lot on that first go around. And so we're back again against an incumbent, against the majority party whip. So I am running to promote the general good of our citizens, small businesses, and service professionals. We need healthcare expansion, worker rights protections, racial justice, affordable housing, tax reform, and a massive increase in the funding of our school facilities and our teachers. What we do not need are the frivolous distractions like CRT dog whistles, permitless open carry, book bans, and bathroom fights, which is all the other party seems to offer. Oh, and our state also doesn't need another tax cut for the rich and big corporations. So please join us to elect Democrats up across the state, up and down the ticket. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Keith. So now we'll go on to another topic, bodily autonomy. Should be a legal right for all people, including the right to abortion. Will you present a bill in the South Carolina State House of Representatives granting this right? So again, you each have 2 minutes, and this time we'll start with Keith. You go first, Keith.
Okay, helps to unmute, doesn't it? Okay, I will fight for reproductive rights, oppose abortion bans, expand prenatal care, develop programs to draw GYNs back to the 17 rural counties that have none, and fund agencies that provide family planning services. So of course, I'm going to fight for the right to choose. In addition, I'm going to fight for expanded healthcare access fund community health services, assist counties and cities with providing mental health and social services professionals to answer 911 calls, and to fully fund the 988 emergency service. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Next, let's hear from Katie.
Hi again. So this is one that affects me directly. And I believe that bodily autonomy is a human right for all people, including the right to abortion. We know that this issue affects people of all genders, not just women, both directly and indirectly. And I fully expect anti-abortion lawmakers to introduce a total abortion ban in January. So I have been rallying and training with Planned Parenthood, and I am ready to do all I can to ensure that South Carolinians have access to health care.
Great. Okay, and next we'll hear from Judith.
Well, reproductive rights are health care rights. A woman who doesn't have freedom over her body or control over her own body is not free. So, of course, I don't understand the outcry against abortion rights. The government is supposed to take care of people, not necessarily, and women are not being taken care of in this sort of atmosphere of that they don't have the right to terminate a pregnancy. That is absurd. That's what came about in the 70s. We finally got birth control that worked, and we finally got the right to a legal, safe abortion. And things have been different for women ever since then. You know, that's why women are now in the workplace more and in jobs of with lots of responsibilities, jobs that are high up in the corporate ladder, or just everywhere. Doctors, women, if they didn't have rights over their bodies, they would not be able to work at all these different areas. They would be, it's like going back to the 1800s. So I think the Democrats are always looking to move forward, more progress, and Republicans just want to go back in time, and they're like in reverse. So I do encourage everyone to vote Democratic wherever you live in the state, and I don't believe you'll be sorry. I think you can. Our government needs our values, and especially today.
Thank you, Judith. And next, we'll hear from Daniel.
So I'm a strong proponent of making sure that all people have fundamental rights to their own body. My wife and I struggled to get pregnant, and eventually were not able to after her first miscarriage. And I remember going through the trauma of watching her go through the hormone cycles and the pain of not being able to conceive again. And I cannot imagine forcing that trauma on any citizen. Intentional infliction of emotional distress is against the law. And for the government to do that to people is just wrong on so many levels. And moreover, women have a 13th Amendment right not to be forced into labor. And that's not just a trick of wordplay. My employer can't force me to drive the truck that I drive if I feel unsafe to do so. And we certainly cannot enforce somebody to carry a pregnancy to term or to go through the medical risks that come with pregnancy, even if it's successfully carried to term. So I will gladly challenge any abortion bans that come up. I will gladly support any abortion access expansion throughout the state. And I appreciate being able to carry on this fight. It shouldn't have to be a fight, but hopefully the South Carolina Supreme Court will side with Planned Parenthood in the case that was heard today, and we won't have to worry about this.
Thank you, Daniel. And next, please, Ashlyn.
Yeah, so one of the main reasons why I'm running is reproductive health care. I will definitely fight against any anti-abortion bans that are attempted to be pushed through the state house. As we know, abortion is actually, it has bipartisan support. Polling shows that it's popular with the voters. They do not want their reproductive choices being stripped from them. We know that from Kansas, that if we would put that issue on the ballot and just take the politicians away from it, voters would overwhelmingly go for protecting their own right to their body. Childcare, maternal mortality, all of these issues are very important to me. And I plan to make them, my focus if I'm elected.
Okay, thank you, Ashlyn. And now, Lucera, I think you're up now. Lucera?
Itself, okay, yes. Thank you, Barbara. And we are going to talk a little about worker rights. So first of all, I would like to say thank you for running. I know it's not easy. I know it's very stressful. And like somebody said, this is a very red state. So it just, the hardest thing is very challenging. So I really appreciate you being so brave and getting into all this, not only with yourself, but your family. And as we all know, excellent healthcare in South Carolina should be accessible to everyone. South Carolina ranks very low in education. And on top of that, South Carolina is a right to work state. And as you know, those facts affect workers in a non-very positive way. So let us hear from you about how do you plan to correct these problems if you are elected. So let me see, let's start with Judith.
Okay. Well, the fact that we don't have strong unions in our state is the reason one of the main reasons we're at the bottom on so many levels. The poverty is atrocious in the state. And it's because the workers are not paid what they deserve to support a family, to support even themselves. And it's a crime, it's a shame. But the right to work is not the right to stay poor. That's what it translates to. And everyone that has the right to a job that is fulfilling and that is not dangerous to them, they need to be protected on the job. Job owners or business owners, they are often oblivious to the needs of their workers. They are only interested in how much more profit they can rake in. They think they're doing them a favor by giving them this job, and that's all. To them, that's enough. A lot of them. And so the workers need a voice for them to make sure that they get the money that they deserve and they get the treatment they deserve, the consideration, the holidays, the days off they need to perform personal tasks and duties. Just because you have a job does not mean that you belong to that job, that business owner, which is sometimes the way they would like for you to feel or think. It's my way or the highway, and that's a very dangerous attitude to project to your workers. But they can get away with it. So the more power to the workers. That's the way I feel. I mean, I was a public school teacher, and we had a union, but it didn't have any teeth. So yes, I would love to see workers with more power. Thanks.
Thank you, Judith. Let's hear from Daniel.
I absolutely love the term job owners. I think I might have to steal that one. But yeah, as somebody who's had to work 60 to 70-hour work weeks, sometimes 80-hour work weeks for the past 16 years since I've moved to South Carolina, I have felt like none of my time is my own, and that I'm always beholden to whoever my employer happened to be, whether it was Cracker Barrel, the school systems, Waffle House, or Bernor Logistics. And so I want to make sure that we have jobs that are being paid well throughout the state by raising the minimum wage, and particularly in our schools. I've recently learned that our cafeteria workers at the local high school are only making $10 an hour, and I was shocked because those are the people that we expect to feed our kids nutritious meals, but we're not going to be able to attract the best people if we have those sorts of wages. And so I'd want to make sure that we raise the minimum wage, make sure that we are protecting people against mandatory overtime. Last year, my employer was working me 5 12-hour shifts a week and sometimes demanding a 6th day twice a month. And people cannot exist on that kind of schedule. You get no time with your family. You might be getting paid well and getting decent paychecks, but if you can never spend the money that you're making, it's not worth it to you. And so I want to make sure that we are able to expand the access to unions and start holding these corporations accountable when they come into our state. We're a coastal state and businesses want to exist here. They need access to the sea, to the ocean. They need access to our natural resources. And right now we're just rolling over and giving businesses whatever they want. We are not operating from a position of strength, which we should be.
Wow, these are very powerful words, and it just amazes me to hear you guys talking the way you talk, so passionate, and also that you can feel it from your heart. So you are the real thing that we need at the State House, definitely. Let's hear from Ashlyn.
Yeah, so I come from a long line of union members in my family. I had previously been in a union myself and a shop steward. So I support organized labor. I would work however long it takes to get rid of our right to work laws to allow us to organize our workplaces more effectively. I think that that is the cause for a lot of the problems that we have, such as our teacher shortage and the treatment of teachers, and how they get paid, the fact that they don't have a lot of unencumbered time, and really it goes to everything. And I think the way that we solve this is by providing more education, which organizations like Our Revolution does, and others around what unions are and what organized labor can do for workers and for all South Carolinians.
Thank you, Ashlyn. Katie, let's hear from you.
Well, I know what it's like to not have a union. I grew up in a mill town in Kannapolis, North Carolina, and my dad worked in the mill. It was a good job, it was a good living, and I was very proud of him. But when it shut down, there were no protections for the workers. I remember coming home from school one day in elementary school, and my parents sat down to dinner with me. We had the news on the TV, and that's how we found out that my dad lost his job. And there was nothing. About 5,000 workers in a town of 35,000 people lost their jobs in one day with no notice. Just nothing. They just shut it down. And I have to wonder if there'd been a union, maybe it still would have shut down. I know the textile industry was going downhill anyway. But maybe it would have left them with something, right? Maybe it would have left them with a better severance package, or maybe a pension or something to help these folks get back on their feet. And of course, I spent 5 years as an elementary school teacher. So I know what it's like to not have a union and to have a union with its hands tied by right to work laws. I had to stop teaching. I had to stop a job that I loved with all my heart because I was so stressed. I couldn't be the teacher that my kids needed. I own my own business now, but I still am very passionate about giving workers the rights that they need. All South Carolina workers deserve a living wage. They deserve a safe workplace. They deserve the right to unionize. I've been working alongside this Catawba Central Labor Council, and I'm learning from the AFL-CIO, and I want to ensure that our workers are treated fairly and safely, because I know that when we all do better, we all do better.
Wow, definitely. And all these politicians that are against workers, they have no idea how this affects everybody's life. When somebody is so stressed out and go home and don't feel like even sharing time with their family, and the Republicans talk about being the pro-family and so forth, and just unbelievable the many contradictions on what they say and actually do. Okay, let's hear from our own Keith Gray.
Thank you. I am a third generation union member and a second generation sheet metal fabricator and welder. I went through an apprenticeship. I was, of course, punched the clock, worked up and became the union training director. I've also had my own sheet metal shop. I will fight for the rights of working people to pass a bill that makes the minimum wage a living wage, and to expand its coverage to all workers, because as a lot of people don't realize, when the minimum wage was first established, there was a misogynist and racist reason for excluding service workers and agricultural workers. So we need to strike that out. We need to have everyone covered. I also would push to provide subsidies for the technical and crafts training necessary for a productive workforce, which we need for our citizens to be able to take care of themselves and contribute to our state. I would want to pass laws protecting union activities and preventing union busting, and to, of course, provide additional funding to enforce safe working conditions. There are quite a few rules and regulations and laws on the books, but somehow the money's never provided to enforce those laws. And by the way, I generally refer to those right to work laws as right to enslave laws, because that's all they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. So I will pass it back into Barbara. Do you have another question for our candidates?
Yes. Crumbling infrastructure, polluted air, water, and soil, lack of smart zoning, outdated building codes, loss of green space, and insufficient affordable housing are just some of the things confronting us. What would you do about them? So again, 2 minutes for each of you, and let's start with Judith.
Well, our environment is surely on the ballot. If we don't fix climate change, I think our planet is doomed. I think we need to do everything we can to stop the warming of the planet and the flooding that results from it, the death of our oceans. We need to take that very seriously. But also, those are the big environmental issues. But also, it's the neighborhoods. How we need to take care of our neighborhoods. If you don't have a high income, you might be living with trash everywhere. You're just, and that shouldn't be, just because you don't make a lot of money doesn't mean you should have to live in an unsafe neighborhood with its filthy, So whatever needs to be done, I would like to see progress made in taking care of communities. and as well as our planet. So it's a big task, and but it's all important. Our infrastructure is terrible. Our roads are full of holes and so forth, and then our traffic is a really big issue. We need some creative solutions to all the traffic problems and the road problems. But to do nothing seems to be the idea of the Republican Party. Let's don't do anything, let's don't spend any money. Don't spend my tax money. In fact, make me pay any taxes. You get what you pay for, you do. And if we would lift everyone's economy up by paying the wages that are suitable, then, as someone said, we all rise. So I think we wouldn't do wrong in making those are the focus, the well-being of our people. That is a profitable thing to do, to make sure our people and the neighborhoods they live in are safe and clean, and that we're working hard to make the whole state this way, and the planet. Thanks.
Thank you, Judith. And next, let's hear from Katie.
Judith, I love what you just said about let's take care of our people. This issue is one that my community of Indian Land knows very well. If you don't know Indian Land, we are a suburb of Charlotte. It hasn't always been that way, but it is now. And we are suffering from just uncontrolled growth. And so, Judith, just like you were saying, our roads are both falling apart and our traffic patterns are unsafe. And I've got my tea with me here tonight because my asthma has been kicking up all day. I didn't have asthma until I moved here. So I know that everyone in South Carolina deserves safe housing, safe roads, safe buildings, and access to clean air and clean water. To do this, we need to do things like enforce impact fees, which are extra taxes that developers have to pay to help us have the funds to update our infrastructure to match our growth. So they pay an extra tax, and then we've got money to build more schools and update our roads and traffic patterns. And it's time that we start rewarding local governments for increasing mixed use zoning, so we can maximize our tax revenue while we minimize traffic and protect our environment. And most importantly, we really have to make sure that every South Carolinian has access to safe housing. I think housing is a human right, and everyone deserves a safe roof over their head.
Thank you, Katie. And now let us hear from Keith.
Well, I will fight for environmental justice. We need to fully fund DHEC to investigate and prosecute the regulation breakers. We need to ensure that penalties are appropriate, proportional, and sufficient to discourage repeat behavior. Now, it's obvious that we need to further strengthen water and air protections. And particularly, and this is the environmental justice part, we need to protect disadvantaged communities from being the dumping grounds from toxic waste, pollution, or industrial development. Because when they don't have the power and they don't have the money, they're the ones that literally get dumped on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing. I believe that small businesses are often too severely fined for the magnitude of whatever infraction they might have done. But on the other hand, that the big corporations are not sanctioned often enough, or fined enough to get their attention. They just consider fines the cost of doing business and keep on violating the rules. And we have example after example right here in South Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. And next, let us hear from Ashlyn.
Yeah, this is a great topic. Specifically in my district, it floods in most portions of Conway and Socastee every time it rains really hard or when we are in a tropical storm or a hurricane. So the last one we just had, I had 8 inches of water in my backyard. So that is not so fun. The coast is not right in my district, but it's obviously very important for the county, and I will fight to protect our coast. I will fight to protect wetlands. I believe that a lot of the rapid expansion that we have, especially since Horry County is one of the fastest growing counties in the nation, is partially responsible for some of this. We have builders who were building so many single family homes and they're building no apartment homes. So that turns into another problem where workers can't afford to live in Horry County. We're also a food and beverage and tourist county. So we need homes like that for people. We need more apartment buildings. So we do need to incentivize builders somehow to build more apartments and not endless amounts of single family homes. That also can go into the flooding issue. We see that they don't really advertise where it floods or where they're building these houses. We have some realtors that don't have to tell people if the house that they're trying to sell you actually floods or not. And then as far as our road situation, I'm sure some of y'all have heard of I-73, something that's been talked about longer than I've been alive. But we have 501 and we have 544 that need repairs. They need updated. They need to be fixed. And frankly, the way I-73 is set up, it just likely is not going to ever happen. And we need some solutions now to get through the nightmare that is 501. We don't have adequate modes of transportation. It takes a half an hour to travel what should be 10 minutes. And as you see, we have potholes and just poorly maintained roads. So really, I think that a part of the problem goes into politicians constantly having to be campaigning instead of accomplishing something. So that would be part of my goal, is to actually get something done. And, if people don't want to vote for me in 2 more years, that's fine. I don't care to be a career politician. I would like to actually fix something for my county and for my district.
Thank you, Ashlyn. And now let us hear from Daniel.
All right. This one is personal to me as well. It's one of the first things that I started campaigning on, and just going to show you my t-shirt here.
Let's fix the.
And my wife didn't want to make that shirt to begin with, but it has been such a good talking point throughout Lawrence County. During the primary, my Republican incumbent touted getting 100 miles of Lawrence County roads repaired or repaved, and there are 1,700 miles of Lawrence County roads. And we all know what a road repair looks like in South Carolina. You take 2 scoops of asphalt patch and smack it with a shovel and move on. And it's an economic justice issue as far as I'm concerned. People in Lawrence County have a median income of $40,000. And so a lot of them do not have the extra $200 a year it takes to get their car realigned. I've been in tears before, whenever I first moved out here, for hitting a pothole and not having the $30 to go to Tire Pro to get a used tire. And people understand that, and they want change. They want somebody to actually come in and fix the basic government services that the Republican Party refuses to acknowledge need to be done and refuse to fund. Moreover, it hurts the businesses in South Carolina. As a truck driver, I can tell you, I cannot go at highway speeds across most South Carolina roads, because if I pop a tire in my big rig, I could be flipping that truck and killing the person next to me. They're designed to where I'm not likely to suffer serious injury if I get injured as the driver, but everyone around me can get hurt or die. And that's liability for every motor operator in this county, in the state, and it slows the flow of traffic to where product doesn't get to businesses. Product materials don't get to businesses, and everything gets slowed down. Moreover, if we don't fix the other infrastructure like dams, we're going to have huge environmental impacts. Take, for example, the dam that's just up from Lake Greenwood. It's over 100 years old and is likely to fail soon. And if it does not get repaired, there's going to be a reservoir of industrial waste that comes flooding into Lake Greenwood and ruining the local environment. So I love that I'll get a chance to work with Keith. Hopefully we'll both be in the State House together and he can educate me on the procedures. I'm going to have to do a lot of learning on the job, but I'll tell you, I've always picked things up quickly and I'm ready to make sure that the people are taken care of.
Thank you, Daniel. Okay, so now Lucero, I think you are up now for another question for our candidates.
Thank you, Barbara. Alan, do we have any questions on the chat?
Not at this time.
Okay, well, I am going to go with our last question, and I have to say congratulations to our candidates. You have been so good with your time. I am so proud. So we still have some time. We were supposed to start this last one at 7:22, and I have on my computer 7:16, so we have a little extra time. And on this question, we are asking you to please tell us what you have learned from running for office that can be of benefit to future Revolution South Carolina endorsed candidates. So let's see, let's start with Daniel.
All right. Do not assume that help is going to be there. It has been a very tough road, especially running in a county and a district that has not had a Democratic challenger for most of this millennium. And so a lot of times whenever I talk to people, they will commit to helping out and unfortunately fall through because we're all busy. And if you do not have the infrastructure already set up, you're going to have to build it. So be persistent. Make sure that you keep following up with people and make sure that you have a backup plan for everything that you want to do. Particularly whenever you're dealing with statewide organizations and let's just call it as it is, the Democratic establishment in the county, in the state. You're not going to get the kind of help that you think you're going to get, and you're going to have to put in a lot of your own legwork, but it's worth it. Whenever you get out and talk to people and you tell them your ideas and you tell them you're a Democrat and then you tell them what you're actually standing for and you see their eyes just brighten back up because they understand that you know what they're going through and you want to help them. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Judith, I would like to hear from you.
You say Judith?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I've learned so much. This is my second campaign, and I've become more confident in speaking. When 2 years ago it was we had the COVID and thing, and so I did a lot of Zoom meetings, but it's nothing like being in front of people and getting the crowd response. And just learning how to speak to people. It's a talent and a skill and an art, but anyone can learn it. It's not as daunting as you might think. It's like everything. Once you do it a few times, it becomes less nerve-wracking, and you just learn how to do it. I think that if you can do better, if you have a campaign manager that's good, but that costs money. So, but in my situation, we've had 3 candidates run, and our local Democratic Party has helped us. The state, not so much, but last 2 years ago, they did help a good bit because they were flush with money. But this time around, the state doesn't have so much money, and they do help with advice. But I find that there are people that will help you that have been through this before. And you just have to they have to reach out to you, and you have to reach out to them. You aren't in it alone. There's people that do want to help you. And it is worth it to see people happy that you're running. They're so grateful that you're running. And that is a good feeling. It makes you think you're doing the right thing. So I don't know if I have anything else to say about that right now, but it's important to work on a campaign. If you're not going to run, help those people who are running, because they need it. And so we all need to be involved in our democracy, to keep it real, and to keep our voices being heard. If we don't win, if we still can make some changes just from our voice being heard. That's the power of the numbers of people you can influence. It's very important. So thanks for everyone listening, and thanks for helping us on this panel. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Judith. Thank you for your very nice and sweet conversation. I appreciate that. Ashlyn?
Yeah, I would say that however much time you think you need to dedicate to it, you probably need to dedicate more time than you think. And, stock up on the coffee. Also, I think that you'll be surprised with who shows up to help you and who wants to invest in you and your campaign. I've had people reach out and want to help me that I did not anticipate, wanting to come out and support me in different ways. And I think it's been a very enlightening experience that you don't necessarily have to agree with someone on everything, but if you have common issues and common ground that you want to work together on, then they will be supportive of you.
So can you tell us about some like texting or emailing or knocking at doors, or what kind of experience you have with that?
Yeah, I've been doing all of that since I started working for Mel Hyman back in 2017. Field has been my favorite thing with any campaign, so I love being out there myself. And as far as kind of what I was talking about with the surprising help, it's just, people that aren't necessarily in my district, but folks across the state who want to see more Democrats get put into office.
Thank you, Ashlyn. Katie?
So for me, it's been a reinforced lesson that I learned a long time ago. My first internship in college, I had just finished my freshman year, and I was working at, now called Roof Above. At that time, it was Urban Ministry Centers in Uptown Charlotte, and we served the homeless population. And on my first day, I will never forget this. The director sat me down and he said, there's 2 things you need to know here. He said, number 1, never lose touch with your neighbors. And number 2, always remember why you came here, why you started doing this. And I kept those 2 rules with me throughout teaching. I learned that positive relationships with my students and with their families was everything. That's where it all started. That's where it all ended. And campaigning has honestly been no different. The most important thing that I've done is just listening to my neighbors. From the time I've spent phone banking, tabling, knocking on doors, I've learned that listening is the most powerful tool we have. It's how we build those positive relationships. All of us want our voices to be heard, and all of us deserve to have our voices heard. And so when I take the time to show and demonstrate that I'm going to be a representative who actually wants to represent my district, it goes a long way. And it opens a lot of doors to very important and strong conversations. And most importantly, it opens the door to trust. So of course, it's led to people saying that they'll vote for me, but moreover, it's led to more volunteers and donors and just supporters. And honestly, friends. I think that our representative should be a friend to the community. They should be somebody who's in touch. And that's who I'm trying to be. So never lose touch with your neighbors. And never forget why you started doing this work.
Thank you, Katie. Very wise words. Keith, what are your thoughts?
There is so much truth in what they've said. A little bit to add, I would like to say start early. I know many of us on our first goes, it was at the last minute decision. You can never start too early. Take what you've learned at the first try and look forward to the next time. Take bold stands or go home. I firmly have believed that the reason we've had a lack of enthusiasm from the Democrats that are out there, the voters that are out there, is because we didn't push the issues and we didn't take bold stands on the issues like we needed to. And yes, sometimes we get more resistance from the Democratic establishment than from our opponents. I would, some minor details is be sure to check consultants' references and be sure that they're a good fit with your personality and are enthusiastic about your policies. I haven't had any, I don't have any consultants working for me on this campaign, but as county chair, I've saw more than a few that unfortunately really weren't worth the money. So check them out. And then be confident of your staff's dependability. A lot of, as was mentioned before, a lot of people will say, yeah, I'll help out. I'll do this or I'll do that. But have fallback positions, build in some time if you have to take care of undelivered deliverables. But first and foremost, all of this is worth the effort for us to try to break the Republican stranglehold on our state government and to resist and turn back their drive to take us back to the 1850s, when the only people with power were white, male, and landowners. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. I really don't know. I don't have enough English to express how excited I feel about you guys. I just, like I say earlier, I just imagine you at the State House, and hopefully after Election Day, we can celebrate, because the more people know what you are fighting for, they need to understand that what they are voting Republicans, they are shooting their feet, right? So they are mostly voting against their own interest. And some of these establishment Democrats also should understand that we need to be stronger on the issues so we get people excited and we can win some election, right? Mm-hmm. So since we don't have any questions from the participants, I would like to say thank you to you guys. I wish you the best on Election Day and after. And then with this, I pass it back to Hal.
All right, Lucero, thank you so much. Oh, let's see if people can see me. I think I turned my video off. I wasn't sure I was coming back. Let me see if I can show my face. Well,
we are going to have the link so you can share the video on your websites or with your
All
with
right.
your social media.
Let's see, there I am. Oh, with my hoodie on as well. And I'm going to do one other thing before we leave. Let's see if I can just share our organized. I do want to thank what great candidates. And the thing I love most about my position here is I get to work with such wonderful people like Lucero and Keith and Alan. And it's just been a great, great opportunity for me. So thank you. And thank you, great candidates as well. I'm going to just our chant, when we organize, we win. By the way, the video is on our Facebook page. It's on our Twitter. It's on our Revolution South Carolina Facebook page. So please share it around. This is what people should see who are voting. And we'll just do it one time. So when we organize,
We win.
We
win. Have a great, great evening, everyone. Thank you so much. And good luck to our amazing candidates.
Thank you.